The Star Wars franchise is teetering off of the edge of a cliff. It's clear that they need to do something different than what they're doing right now. From mediocre to kind of offensive Disney Plus shows and a Nothing Burger movie, which was really fun, but not fun enough to save the franchise, it's clear that something has to change. A new era of Star Wars is on the rise, whether we like it or not, and I believe there are a few things that Disney Star Wars has lost sight of that made Star Wars so good. The new era needs these things. Number one, it needs to bring back politics. And I don't mean for them to present a political decision based off of today's politics. I mean, the original trilogy was about a revolution against imperialism. The prequels were about the descent into fascism through democracy. The sequels was about, what was it about? I guess a rebel group fighting against an empire. Again, I think they heard the critique that there were too many legislative sessions in the prequels, so they got scared and went the total opposite direction. But by doing that, the sequels became about nothing. They weren't saying anything. They weren't exploring anything. They weren't doing anything except like vague space adventure. And people do like when politics are in their movies and shows because people loved Andor. Andor is so good, and everybody like agrees, smart people, every smart person agrees that Andor is like the best Star Wars. It's my favorite, personally. In that show, we explored being undocumented, and we explored prison labor and what it's like for a town to be occupied under imperialism, and a lot of other things. I heard that the original idea for the sequels was going to be about, like, during the Iraq War, the US dismantled the Iraqi government, and anybody who was associated with the government was no longer allowed to, like, work with them. So then there was this large amount of group of people who, like, especially like the military, who were just like, okay, now what do we do? And that's what like the First Order was supposed to be based off of, but they just didn't explore that at all. So if there is a new trilogy, they need to be doing something. It's okay if it's not super deep or super crazy, but they need to be exploring something. There's plenty going on in the world to take inspiration. Also, they should pay Tony Gilroy as much money as possible to write just the general direction of the Star Wars franchise. He needs to write the outline, and they need to have a plan, by the way. We've learned that lesson, ideally, hopefully, that they should go in with a plan of where the story is going to go. Number two is I feel like they've lost sight of the grandness. Like, as I was watching The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, I was like, why does this matter? Like, what is this even about? It's not like doing anything, which is like, okay, I mean, it's just a fun little adventure. Like, the prequel's setting was a galactic senate. The original trilogy, of course, was about this rebel group fighting the biggest, most powerful empire in the galaxy. Like, going in and like having these little stories is fun. I'm totally down for that every once in a while, but like it can't be the main focus going forward. Also, to help this, I think that we should force and pay as much money as he needs, Danny Villeneuve, to just direct any Star Wars movie ever. Like, even if it's just one singular one, first off, we would get incredible Star Wars visuals. That would be amazing. Another thing I think they've lost sight of is found family, witty banter, and relationships. And again, this is just fresh off of like watching The Mandalorian, but there was like no relationships between any of the characters. There was like barely any growth. It was just kind of like, oh, these people are working with each other to help with the plot, but there was no like love, like heart. There was that one moment on the beach where Grogu and Rada the Hutt were like playing in the water, and like I actually like almost shed a tear. That was so beautiful. Why wasn't this movie about like them finding a family and becoming friends, and like him deconstructing his lone wolfism? Because if you think about the originals, like one thing that still holds up to this day is like Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Leia being sassy to each other. That is actually one thing that I do think they got right in the sequels with Rey, Poe, and Finn. Like, they were such a great dynamic. They only got to hang out with each other in the last movie, and it was like the worst movie, so it just like it canceled out. But it was like they were on the right track with that specific thing. And I want a little romance. I don't want a lot of romance, but I want a little romance. Obviously, the prequels was too much. Well, I guess they were like writing a love story. George Lucas took on more than he could handle because he didn't know how to write a love story, but it's like a space opera. We need to be doing everything. We need to be doing action. action, we need to be doing romance, we need to be doing comedy, we need to be doing drama. You know, another aspect that I think that they've lost sight of is the sci-fi of it all. They remember that it's Star Wars, so they keep on placing things. They're like, does this fit in the Star Wars universe? Great. Yes, that's true. The original trilogy, if you look at some of like the concept art, is like so 80s sci-fi, and it's so cool. They just kind of like keep copying the original trilogy's aesthetic. There's like a kind of dirty like Galaxy's Edge vibe that they've been like giving, and they refuse to do anything else. But if you just type in like sci-fi art on Pinterest and just like scroll for a little bit, there's so much to be inspired by, and they just are so afraid to do anything that doesn't look exactly like the original trilogy, which we have seen is a problem when you try to copy exactly the original trilogy. Also, something that we need in this new era is something new, a new plot, a new story. We need a new visual style. In the prequels and the originals, you can tell like which era we are in based off of like the ships and the clothing, but then suddenly in like the sequels, everyone is dressed exactly the same. Like no time has passed. That is not how like real world trends work. After a certain amount of years, like people start wearing different clothing items. Like aesthetic shift as time passes for a new era. Like the sequels had the same costumes, the same sets, the same planets, even though they were called different names, even the same main villain. They copy and pasted. That being said, it has to be relevant to the story told previously, because that was like kind of the issue with the sequels themselves. It felt so Stranger Things season 5 of them to get to this new era, and then suddenly, oh, there's an empire again. Like everything that we just did in the last episode just didn't matter. Like we need to deal with some sort of aftermath, that it wasn't just for nothing that I watched all of those movies. Also, they lost sight of lightsaber battles. I know that they were trying to make a bunch of shows and stuff without lightsabers because they're like, oh, lightsabers are overdone. Hello? Like, what are you talking about? There are kids on college campuses at my college, including, where they have whole clubs where they're fighting on the lawn with lightsabers and doing choreographed battles. That is how popular lightsaber battles are and how iconic they are. We're like, I do understand that they were using the heavier lightsabers because they wanted to have lightsabers that actually emitted light so it would like look better. And that's cool, but like, let's use some innovation skills to make those lighter. Because like, I guarantee people care much more about awesome lightsaber battles than like, oh my gosh, wow, the lightsaber light is bouncing off of the... It's like, to jump from the prequels, which had problems but also awesome lightsaber battles, to the sequels, which had lots of problems but no awesome lightsaber battle. To close it off, here are some things that I think that they are actually doing really well right now that they should continue doing good. The craftsmanship is kind of awesome. The stop motion robots in The Mandalorian were like so cool, and they have to continue to implement stop motion into their movies. Also, I feel like they're finding a really good balance of cute little creatures to important, serious sci-fi plot. Everyone complained in the Return of the Jedi, the Ewoks were like too annoying, and I actually agree. Like as an adult, like going back, I was like, okay, there's a lot of this. But I think like the Porgs, Babu Frick, and Baby Grogu, that is like the perfect level of like little cute creatures so we can sell merchandise to serious plot. And I personally really enjoy them. I also think that they have a pretty good ratio of practical effects to CGI. I do think that they could push it a little bit more practical. They're doing really good with like the puppets. However, the Mandalorian, the stage, and then like the video of the background is behind him. We've got to get rid of that. Like, I understand that it's really helpful, and we can do that sometimes when it's like necessary. There's this thing that happens with too much CGI where I can't anchor myself somewhere into the screen because everything is fake. So for some reason, my brain is like, there's nothing here for me to latch onto. We need to go back to miniatures, by the way. Star Wars pioneered miniatures. Actually, has Star Wars used miniatures recently? Maybe they did in Mandalorian and I don't really know. Anyways, that is all I have. If you have any suggestions on what could save the Star Wars franchise or what will save the Star Wars franchise, let me know.